Alright, we're starting. Let's go ahead and open up Twitch, make sure that everything's working properly. And I'm guessing that Twitch won't refresh itself anymore. It never seems to, so. Alright, well, without looking at Twitch, I'm just going to assume that everything's working, so. Hello everyone, this is Chris Ingerston, and it is, I was going to say March, and then I was going to say February, but it is actually April. April 7th. And this is the April 7th TextQuest Devstream. So today we're going to be doing transitions between the overarching game world and the combat scene. And I have been messing around with post-process effects for that. So, oh, hey Garrett. Welcome to the stream. So originally I was going to do some sort of Paper Mario type transition where I would have a word come on screen, one that was probably going to say battle, and have that sort of spiral in to create this nice mask effect. So, yeah, we're probably not going to get a good example here. But I haven't quite gotten masks to work yet, reverse masks. And when I was thinking about it a little bit before the stream, it actually doesn't quite make sense to do that because if we remember correctly, I'm going to go ahead and switch scenes here. TextQuest, scenes, intro, sewers, and we'll just go to the sewers. When we actually start combat, we're not sort of free-form running around in the world. We actually are in the middle of a menu saying hit this enemy or attack this enemy or whatever. So we'll be interacting with this and we'll have to say hit troll. Really? I didn't add troll to the dictionary? Okay. I'll just say hit. And oh, you know what it is? I bet. Huh. That's really weird. It doesn't seem to do the transition anymore. I'm betting that's because I changed the way that the menu works, so it's probably not going to pop up. Well, anyway. But we're going to be looking at this screen, which will be, your input screen. So that means that we don't want to have that sort of mask effect because it's not going to be very noticeable. So instead, I'm thinking something similar to Final Fantasy, which is, let me pull it up real quick. Final Fantasy, which is the classic sort of, we'll do Final Fantasy VII combat. Is this sort of classic spiral where the entire screen sort of becomes blurry and twists in. So right here. So that type of transition is actually very, it's very obvious that you're transitioning to a different scene, and I think that that transition in particular will work very well with this visual of this, white text on a black background, or if you've unlocked it, different colors of text on a black background. But to get that to work, we're going to be messing with post-processing effects. But I think to start off, we're not going to actually do the post-processing effects, so none of that camera twisting, distortion stuff yet. What we're going to get is we're going to set it up so that when you attack the troll, it's going to take you to a separate scene that has the combat in it. And then once you beat the troll there, it will take you back here and put you back in the scene. And that should take care of the bulk of transitions, actually getting things to move. All right. So, let's go ahead and pull up, close this, close these. I'm going to go ahead and pull up enemy, which is my script for the trolls and all the other enemies that you would encounter. So let's click on this. And right here we have do verb, start coroutine, hit delay. Here we go. I disabled it. All right. Now, to get this properly set up, I'm probably going to need some form of combat manager. Or, well, actually, you know what? I wonder if I can do just a level transition through my regular text quest scene manager. And that might actually be able to automatically transition to a combat scene. Let me think. What would be the best way to do that? So, let me go ahead and go to resources, global, and then these are the sort of singletons that I have below global. So scene loader and music manager are probably going to be two big ones for this. But scene loader isn't actually, it's not that smart. It doesn't know what scene to load. It's just told what scenes to load, which makes me feel like part of the level manager should have a combat scene attached to it, so that if any combat takes place in this level, it will go to this combat scene. So let me build this up. Let's look for level manager. Click on this. So let's see. Grab materials, current level. Okay. So what we're probably going to want to have is probably a level ID, or yeah, no, I think that's fine. So we'll say public level ID, combat ID equals level ID dot none, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to this level ID, go to definition, and good. I left myself some space. So for sewers, we're going to say sewer combat equals 17. Oops, not semicolon, so enum. So we'll basically have these combat scenes whenever you need to go into combat. I probably should also change castle while I'm here, but we're doing a proof of concept, so this is fine. And then back here in level manager, we will probably say, oh good, we have a current level. So we're going to say global, if I could spell global, dot get. Let's see. Oh, you know what? We don't even need global for this. We can just straight up say level manager dot current level, then dot combat ID, and after that we'll say TQ, okay, text quest scene loader dot load level, load scene async, or it's load level, isn't it? I always forget because I overrode this. Yeah, load scene, which is automatically async. Ugh, I don't like that. I called it that. So we want to do this, I believe. And okay, I believe we can say spawn point ID dot none. And this is where it's going to get tricky, because we don't want it to spawn the movable player character in the combat scene. It needs to be a separate sort of control scheme. Man. Okay. At the very least, this should actively make the transition. So even if it spawns the player, it won't really matter. We'll at least have tested what we wanted to test. So I'm going to change this to sewers combat. And then actually to get this to work properly, I'm going to need to go to scenes. Right here. And we're going to have to do this. Joy. Public const string sewer combat equals sewer combat. All right. And then we'll just have to do this. Not crazy about this. I really wish I had a better way of doing this. Sewers. Turn sewer combat. And what I probably could do if I didn't want to do this every time is just make it so that these enum values are what the actual scenes are called, and then I could just do a 2-string. But it just, I don't know, it seems somewhat inflexible to do that. Not that this is much better, always having to add this. Case, oh, sorry, not castle. Case. Ah, yes. Sewer combat. Return. Level ID. Dot. Sewer combat. Alright. So now all of that should work. What the heck happened here? Hello, Inspector. Okay, that was weird. So, now that we have that, we should be able to walk up to the troll and hit it. And then we will get a transition. Getting the output. And we have a null reference, because of course we do. Oh, right, I haven't added that. So let's go to text west, scenes, intro, sewers, then we'll go to file, build settings. I always hate that you have to add these things. Add sewer combat, put it below sewer. Alright. And let's hope that that was the reason that it all sort of fell apart. Okay, let's do hit. And not looking good. Oh, but we made the transition anyway. And we have to, yep, there it is. The hero's right here. And it's falling. Oh no, I paused it, so I caught it before it fell. But if I let it keep going, it would fall until infinity, and then it would have a floating point error. So that's where that 2 audio listener error is coming from. If I disable that, it'll stop. Okay. So we have multiple event systems in the scene. Ah, that's probably because I left the canvas in there. That's fine. Okay. So it makes the transition, but we need to have a cleaner way of organizing our player spawning, which is not great, but it is expected. So probably what we're going to do, and I think I might have started to do this actually. Let me go to environment. I do have a combat scene manager. Okay. This is sewer combat. And, ugh. Just have a bunch of crap. I'm not really wanting to do that. Let me open this up. And on level load complete is overridden. I thought that I disabled my character whenever I move between scenes, but maybe I don't. So let me see here. So we're basically overriding this on level load complete, which spawns the player, finds the spawn point, and basically positions everything correctly. But if our player character isn't going anywhere, it looks like it's still in the scene. It's just not despawned, which means that I need to go to scene loader, text quest scene loader, load scene, blah 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 blah. Load scene start, async manager. Okay, that's not quite correct. Which means that I don't actually despawn the player. Ugh, that's horrifically inefficient. Well, not inefficient, just stupid. Okay. So I want to say start coroutine And I guess I'm going to say if global.hero reference does not equal null, global.hero dot gameObject.setActive false. I think that's what I want. So let's go back to level manager here. Yes, pretty much this. So this is actually what I want. And we want it to say if it is active, then set it to be false. And I think that might fix our problem. So now if we make the level transition, once this compiles, we'll be able to switch back and test it. But it should actually disable our player character when we transition between scenes now. So instead of having them like spawn and then just start falling through the abyss until we position them, they'll just be deactivated, so they won't fall at all until we reactivate them and then position them properly. So, nope, I didn't mean to hit play. Let's go to sewers. Hit play. And magic. Hit. Not crazy that the output there is. Right. And are we getting that error? Yes, we're not. I mean, there are no audio listeners in the scene? That's really strange. And of course it closed all my folders again. I really wish I knew why it did that. Let's go to sewer combat. I'm going to go ahead and delete my UI here. I don't need it. Oh yeah, and that happens. I forgot about that. I was messing with post-processing effects before the stream. I found a funny thing. If you're rendering with two cameras, so I render my main scene with my camera, and then I render the UI with a separate camera. I mean, I also have a third camera rendering my equipment so that it doesn't clip out of bounds. But if you have a multiple camera setup in deferred rendering, it sort of breaks post-processing effects. Okay, so that all seems to work pretty nicely. An argument out of range exception for some reason, but aside from that, why do you say that there are no audio listeners in the scene? I bet I know why. It's because we have it happening right here. Probably what we want actually is this. Hold on. Grab this. I'm going to move this to here. So we will disable the player after the new level is loaded. Then we will re-enable them after the level loading is complete. Which is a little paradoxical. Yeah, that's the problem, is that you have to copy the screen or the post-process effects to each camera, which I don't like. And the main reason that I don't like that is because, well, I'll show you after I test this. So I'm going to hit this. We get our transition, which is nice. We get a brief period of 2 audio listeners, and then everything's fine. Our hero is right here. They're not falling infinitely anymore, which is good. And, alright. So, stop closing all of my folders. So if I go to my sewers combat, let's go ahead and, so we have our battle camera. I'm going to turn on radial blur, so you can see that it's got that blur effect. But then if I drag in UI, the UI has a second camera for the UI. And as soon as that comes in here, you see that it clears right up. And if I disable UI, it comes back. So it's the UI camera, and if I just disable the camera, it does that too. Which is really, really frustrating. It makes it very annoying for doing certain things. And the reason that it's really... yeah, I do actually have color effects. I haven't used it much, but I'm at a stage where I'm comfortable experimenting with the post-process effects. Because for the most part, I've held off for as long as I can to try and make the base game look good without them. That way, when I bring them in, they can make a good-looking game very good-looking, as opposed to like a crappy-looking game okay-looking. Anyway, so the problem is that if I have, say, I'm going to go ahead and grab, I'll duplicate this radial blur, so I'll copy this. So I can paste it on this component, and it will render everything correctly. That's fine. Then if I disable this, it should be fine. I mean, I think that's because basically how it works is the last camera that renders is the one that determines what post-process effects are getting applied. Now, that might be okay if your UI is different from mine, or if you want to do something, if you want your entire screen to look like this. But the main problem that I have is, so if I hit play here, it affects the UI. So you can't really tell what you're doing, right? But if I wanted to only, say, affect the actual level and not the UI, I can't do that. So if I turn off this radial blur, everything goes back to normal, even though my battle camera has the radial blur on, which makes it incredibly frustrating. So I was looking for a solution to that before the stream, and I haven't found one yet. But it seems like the problem is because of how Unity handles post-processing effects. It doesn't actually pass them down the line, it seems. So it's not like you can apply it to one camera, and then when that camera's done rendering, the next one will pick that image up exactly where it left off. It picks up the image that was rendered by the camera, but not the post-process effects, which means that everything, it doesn't work, basically. It just doesn't do it. So I am looking into seeing how that works to see if I can solve that. Just because I don't want to touch my UI as much as possible because it causes things to become illegible. Good God, 6 cameras. Why do you have 6 cameras? That's a lot of cameras. I only use 2. I have my main camera that renders the scene, and then I have my UI camera. Well, actually, no, I have 3. I lied. The third, I have my main camera, which renders the scene. Then I have my equipment camera, which renders my equipped equipment, so like my swords or my lanterns if I'm holding them. And that's so that if you run into a wall and the lantern is technically behind it, it won't disappear. And then I have my UI camera, which renders the UI. 6 cameras, though. That's a lot of cameras. So that's sort of the space I'm in right now, where I'm trying to figure out how to get post-process effects to work. Anyway, so let's go to combat now. And battle canvas. Combat. And, oh, this is fun. Let's change this to sewers, and then combat ID to sewer combat. And then we will say end combat. And we're just going to do the exact same. So text quest scene loader dot load scene level manager dot ID. Oh, I'm sorry. Level manager dot current level dot ID. Spawn point ID dot. Ah, crap. That could be problematic. Actually, you know what? No, it's probably not. That should be fine. So this way we'll be able to transition back to the previous scene. You have a UI camera, a game UI camera. Wait, 2 UI cameras? Why do you have 2 UI cameras? 2 cameras for player, enemies. 1 for fireworks and 1 for the unlocking chat. Yeah. Huh. Okay. I guess I could see that. Most of the time, I find that cameras you have most people use multiple cameras for specific rendering orders. I mean, that's the reason that I have the equipment camera and whatnot separate. Because if I just rendered my equipment with everything else, it would get stuck behind stuff occasionally. And I'm assuming that that's why you have six as well, is so that you can render specific things on top of others. Um, so let me go back to scenes, intro, sewers, sewers. We're going to try to do a whole run through of combat. So hit or interact with the enemy, hit it, fight it, defeat it, come back. So hit. Gotta get rid of that output. So 1, hit, kick, stomp, attack, kick, stomp, attack, crush, stomp, crush. Okay. So I do not call end combat, apparently. Let me check down here. Okay. I bet that's because I'm using combat view. Here we go. End combat. So I'm going to do current battle dot end combat. All right. And then we will do the same thing here. So when you flee, it will also end combat. Except, actually, I'm going to go ahead and definition it. I'm going to say public virtual void flee combat. And that's going to do the same thing for now, but I want it to be distinct. So if I go back here, say flee combat. Okay, let's try that again. And then everything was great. Whew. All right, let's see how this looks. My wall textures are kind of low resolution. They look like, I mean, they're 1024, but they feel a little too low res to me. Anyway, that's an art thing. Hit. We're gonna do our outputs. Okay, we get this. Do battle. Hit, attack, punch, hit, attack, crush. Good God, stomp, attack, punch, stomp. Oh my God. Ah, dang it! No! So I have to. Okay, we'll try this again. I forgot to fix the enemy combat. So I have to get through it in one go. I can do this. Oh, you know what? What else I could do? I could also just run. Interesting. They don't seem to be fading away. Okay. Well, let's see what happens. Yes. And why are you there? Uh-oh. I'm guessing that it's rebuilding. Yeah. God damn it. My loading screen's busted! But we are back in this scene. So, semi-success? I'm going to count that as a semi-success. Null reference. Why do we have null reference? Okay. Here, let me check. I might need to do a quick UI repair on my... Let's grab this, and then we're going to go to loading screen. There we go. Because I'm still not quite done porting all of the old menus over to TextMesh Pro yet. So it's possible that things aren't assigned properly. That might be the easiest thing I've had to do. Okay. I guess I was just stupid and I forgot to assign something. So let's apply that. Hit delete. Alright. We'll delete the UI again. Let's try plain. And hit. Still looks like we had a weird problem, but okay, I'm going to do flee again. Cower, run, cower, flee, cower, run, flee, cower, run, escape. And I don't like this. Oh, right, I forgot. You have to type start. Because I'm stupid like that. Alright, well, we're back. So, yay, it works. We actually make the transition. Okay. Well, that's good. I don't like that we're still getting this. I have to assume... Go ahead and close that. I hate that I can't double click on this, but word jumble, it looks like, is having an error. So I'm going to say word jumble. Oops. Double click on this. And let's see, where was that error at? 33. Okay. You know what? I bet it's under loading. Resources, UI. Let's go to our loading screen. Loading. Grab this. Minigames. Jumble. That seems to work. Huh. Oh, it's because it doesn't know where to go. Okay, I know why. Yep, it's because it's expecting a ID. Great. That's what happens when you have it manually assign that crap. Okay. Let me think. I bet I could do this. I think I can say, let's do 2F, 2F, false. Might solve my problem. So I'm not going to show a loading minigame for this because I don't actually want one. It doesn't make sense. The transition is going to be different. So we'll let that go. That might solve our problem for us. So we're not going to get that null reference exception again, which will be good. I need some music too. I might plug in some dummy music for the transition just to make sure that everything feels nice. Wow, that was super fast. Okay. So we're going to have artificially inflated transition times. Okay. So we're going to copy this. Let's go back to combat. We'll just do 2F, 2F, false. Paste that. Okay. So that takes care of the rough transitions, like actually getting things to move and be in different areas. And it seems like everything works for the most part. I still need to do subtle things like make sure that the player spawns back where they were. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. The next big thing, I think we're going to experiment with actually getting the the post-processing effects to work properly. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my UI, go to my camera. I'm going to add a couple of things. First off, I'm going to add my screenshot tool. Oh yeah, which reminds me, I didn't show you that, did I? So let's go to scenes, intro, sewers, sewer combat. So I have added, or I've upgraded my screenshot tool. So if I play, before when I took screenshots, I could only take screenshots with the main camera. But now if I hit F12 and then look at my screenshots, I can actually include the UI now, which makes things look a lot nicer. And that was not terribly difficult to do, actually. It ended up just being, you basically queue your cameras by a draw order, and then you render them out one at a time into a render texture, and that causes this to pick everything up. So it ends up turning out pretty nice. And, of course, I've added support for stuff like, so I can actually tell my UI camera that I don't want it to be included in the screenshot. So now if I hit F12 and look at my screens, there's the new one. Doesn't have the UI in it. So I was just messing around with that to make it more flexible. And to quote myself from Tuesday, make a screenshot tool that is not crap. And that is what I think I have done. All right. So, of course it freaking closed everything again. Let's go to intro, sewers. So the next thing that we want to do is have that post-process effects look happen. So we're going to go to UI camera, and we're going to do it here because the UI camera draws on top of everything. So I'm going to add asset store, colorful effects, scripts, effects. I'm going to add that, let's see, not directional blur, but I had it. It has a word, and I can't think of it. It is a... Oh my god, I can't believe that I forgot what I was using. It's not Gaussian blur, it's some type of blur. Let's see. You know what, I probably could still do this. Haha, radial blur. Don't know why I couldn't think of the name for it. So we're going to just keep our radial blur, and we're actually going to loop this, or not loop this, but lerp this strength value from 0 to probably, I don't know, 1. To simulate that sort of distortion effect, and then we'll fade it back out when we actually start the combat. Okay. This is going to be fun. So actually, probably what I want is text quest scene loader. We're going to have public static void load combat scene. And we'll take all of these fun parameters, paste them in there. Get rid of the spaces in between here because I don't like to have those in my overloaded function. And we'll set this to be false by default. Alright. And we're not going to require a target spawn because it will not have one. So, hopefully this will let us have a nicer transition, because we're basically going to need an artificial delay for our fade in to actually do the sort of twist and turn stuff. So we're going to duplicate this level transition async operation, and we're going to call it combat transition async. And let's see, if show load, we'll do that. That's all fine. And we'll do our fade in. I don't like having the UI, or having the scene loader know about the UI, but I kind of have to, which is not great. me think. How do I want to do this? We'll get it working first, and then I'll make it pretty later. So let's see. Radio. Okay, I'm guessing that it's crap. What is it? Colorful effects. And then radial blur. Blur equals UI dot UI camera dot get component colorful dot radial blur blur dot what's the value? Strength equals 0f. Then we're going to have blur dot strength equals 1f. And then we're going to say, let's see. Oh, that's curious. We're going to do our while. No, that's not right. Okay, that's fun. So we're going to say float t equals 0, f, while t is less than 1f, or actually, you know what? Nope, actually it's going to be 1f. 1f. We're going to do t plus equal time dot delta time divided by fade in, then yield return null. And we're going to say blur dot strength equals mathf dot lerp 0 and 1 based on t. Which actually, looking at it like that, I probably could just say it equals t. And that would be fine. So I don't even need to lerp it. But I'll leave it in there because I like lerping more than just straight up saying it. Then we're going to do the same thing, but in reverse down here. So while everything's loading, current manager, blah, blah, blah. I think we'll go ahead and get rid of show load. And then we will just say that's a train. And I'm going to put this right here and say t equals 1f while t is greater than 0f. T minus equals. Alright, so that should, and set that to be 0. So that should get our radial blur sort of working. So we can at least see if something properly works visually. Oh, and I almost forgot. Go to enemy. And say load combat scene. Don't need our spawn point ID. That should work, I believe. So. All right. And let's see how that ends up looking. Okay. I'm really hoping that I just got it right on the first try. I seriously doubt that'll happen, but it's good to dream. Hit. Damn it! Was I stupid? Declaration. I was stupid, that's why. Okay. Start coroutine. Oh, I'm sorry. TQ instance start coroutine. Combat instance tq instance dot combat do. Basically, we're going to copy this. Okay. I believe that's everything that I need. Okay. So I was just dumb. Hello, Quantum Thinker. You have successfully snuck in. I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you again. How have you been? And let's let it compile and hope that I got it this time. And compile times really need to shorten. Alright, let's try this again. And come on. Fine. Oh, that... Ah! That did not work. Okay. Give me a second here. Why didn't that work? Combat transition. While T is great, less... Oh, that would be one of the reasons. But it also transitioned instantaneously. Which... I don't think I wanted it to. No, I actually want this up here. Here's why. So I'm going to copy this and move it. Oh, crap. Paste that. Copy all of this. Delete it. Move it up to here. There we go. Because it was the fade in was the fade in was happening after I told the application to start asynchronously loading the next level. So even though it was still technically loading, it just loaded so fast that I didn't notice it. So that was me being dumb. Okay. But it did seem to at least partially work. We got the effect going. So let's let this go. Say hit, and yes, 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 yes. Yes! Okay. Well, that was super satisfying for something that was so incredibly dull. Alright, so transitions are now working. Now let's get sound. Let's get a music track in there. See what we can get. And that's going to be more challenging, I think, because I got to figure out how to pass the audio. Been really busy for a while. No, well, I'm glad you enjoy the streams. Well, hopefully I'll be able to keep you entertained for the short duration that you're with us tonight. So, let me think. If I go back to level manager, I don't like putting it here. Audio clip, combat music, but it probably... It's probably most convenient to have it here. Otherwise, I would have to have a sort of separate data class that has references to combat levels based on the level ID, which maybe end up what I'm doing, or may end up being what I do. I don't know, I had bad grammar there. But for the time being, I'm just going to put it right here. Like I say, make it work, then make it pretty. So let's go back to enemy and text scene loader. And for combat, I'm going to go ahead and add an audio clip here. Music. Set that. And we'll do music. Have audio clip, music. Alright, so now that we have that, we'll go back here and we'll say level manager dot current level dot combat music, and that should get things working at least. So we'll let that go, and then where was it? Close that. I don't need it open. Right here, we will actually say as soon as we get here, text quest. Or, no, sorry. Global dot get music manager dot play music and no delay with no fade duration, I guess. I think that's all I have. Yeah, that should all be fine. So it should just start playing music as soon as it starts, the transition. And then the last thing that we'll have is in combat. For in combat, we'll have this, and we'll say stop music, so that it stops the music gradually. And that's going to have a fade duration of 2, I'm guessing. So we'll copy this over. I can highlight what I want. Okay, and now I'll just need to plug in that audio clip, and we should be able to get something. Let's grab this, and let's go to audio, intro, sewers. Okay, so once it compiles, it stops being frozen. Overworld, Canyon. Not that. Oh, that's a good one. I haven't heard that in forever. Okay. Well, let's do that then. It's going to be super loud when we come in, which is fine, I suppose. Okay. Let's see if this will start playing audio as soon as we hit the enemy. Ah, yes. It's like super loud though. Oh. Ah, dang it. I must have something telling it to automatically fade out music. Crap! Ah, that sucks. Okay. Well, that's annoying. Let me see. Let me do find all references. Music test, music manager. Don't fade it. Ah, crud. Ah, dang it. That's problematic. Well, for the time being, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. Just so that we can check if that's going to give us a nice feel. And if it works, I'll have to figure out a way to get the music manager to not stop playing. Or maybe I shouldn't have the music manager explicitly trying to load music like that. So I'm going to say hit. That's not bad. I mean, it's loud and it's not exactly combat music, but yeah, that ends up look. Let's try fleeing real quick. So this should get rid of the music or have it fade out when we escape. Yeah, that was interesting. It also looks like, oh yeah, it wouldn't do the transition back, would it? Um, Crap. That kind of makes sense. But it does at least play, and it goes through, and it's a musical transition, which I like. But now we need to stop this on level load from happening. So I have it set up to automatically do this, but maybe I shouldn't have it do that. Um, Maybe I should have this be controlled by the scene loader as well, because the scene loader is already sort of dipping its fingers into a bunch of stuff. It's talking about the UI. It's looking at current level managers. It probably should control whether music is playing or not. And that would mean that I don't have this sort of automatic thing happening. Because I've started to move away from having these on-level loaded things just occur. They're good for automation when you have stuff like pool management, but yeah, I did hear that a little bit as it came in. I heard it echo a little bit. Um, but what should happen is that it should fade to black, and during that fade to black, it will stop the music. Um, but I don't think that's actually what's happening. So if I look at, let's say, combat, yeah, we're doing a fade duration. I probably should shorten this to like 1. Um, Except, yeah, here's the problem is that our load scene isn't doing the appropriate fade, which is I know why. Hold on. Let me look at the loading screen. I forget what I called it. I call it loading view. Called it loading view. Good for me. Not incredibly stupid. Um, so this do this fade out. And if we look at scene loader, what this is saying is if show load, we're going to do our start load. I probably need to have an else here that just says fade in. Else. UI dot get loading view dot fade in. Fade in. And then we'll have a yield return. And that should be fine. I think that might solve my problem. I just needed that else there. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this show load. Because it is pointless. We're never going to just do the load for that. It's always going to be an instant transition. So let's let that go. Let's try this again real quick. And then we should actually have our nice transitions. It should actually fade to black when we transition back out of combat. And then it should stop the music before. Oh, good. Really? Oh, right. Because I deleted that. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this too. Why are you mad down here? Ah, okay. I guess we'll just save this. And we will just go ahead and do that. Because we shouldn't have to regenerate these materials anyway. Since the combat or the combat cutscenes use the same materials as the base cutscene, or the base level that they came from. Really? Alright, there we go. That's actually why it loads so fast, by the way, is because those assets have already been generated. ahead of time so they don't have to regenerate. So let it go, let it go, let it compile, and Shazam! Let's see what happens. Alright, so hit. Okay. I don't like that. Okay. But we do actually make the transition back, and it's partially correct. I don't like that it's showing like the input. That's not okay. I'll have to cut that out for these level transitions because it should just be a really quick transition back. Because it doesn't have to. It shouldn't have to generate these textures again. It shouldn't have to make anything. It should just instantly happen. But for the time being, that works out pretty well. I'm actually very happy with the results. Need to do some re-UVing there. Cool. So we have transitions working. They're not glamorous on the back end, but they look nice on the front end. And there's definitely more stuff that I need to do. Oh, just realized that that's not illuminating properly. Well, anyway. So, cool. Well, I might call that a stream for the time being. No, it's a little early, but some of the stuff that I need to do for this isn't going to be particularly interesting, or I don't necessarily know what they are, so I'll have to do research. And I never like doing research during the stream just because it feels like it's a bunch of me going, in front of everyone, and that's not fun. So, but we did get level transitions, where combat transitions working. Combat transitions working. And I call that a victory. So for now, I think that's going to be it. I'm going to try to probably have a stream maybe sometime this Saturday. See if I can get some example, or, well, maybe not this Saturday. But I'd like to start streaming on Saturdays some games that inspired Text Quest design. So it'd be interesting to say like stream Paper Mario for an hour and talk about its combat system, why I want to sort of reference it for my own. Maybe play Zork, go through and say like what I liked, what I didn't like about it, why certain things needed to change, and all that stuff. I might not start this Saturday, but I need to get a capture card for my game system to actually, or my game console to actually get some stuff working. But yeah, so that was a good stream. Nice and productive. We got some very visual things working. Just like that. I like that. Like fade in, fade out. I gotta do more stuff to it, obviously, to like see if I can get the camera rotating or other stuff. But easier than a Devstream, yeah. Well, I used to do, before I started Devstreaming, I started doing something on Twitch that I called like Chris Finally Plays, and it's all those. It's a bunch of classic games that I just missed from my childhood. Like I never got to play them, and then I would talk about what I knew about it, and then I would break down sort of design decisions and how they did things in the game that I knew about. So I always enjoy playing old games and talking about them. So I think I'm going to start doing that on weekends as my Saturday stream to sort of lighten the mood, take an hour or two a day and just sort of relax. Well, not a day, but a week, and sort of relax. Yeah, Zork is really fun, but it does have its shortcomings. In particular, the combat. That's actually why I'm doing combat in this game. One of the original goals that I had when I set out to make Text Quest was make combat interesting for text-based games. And Zork's combat is not interesting because it's basically just random number generation. Um, and I always found it frustrating. In fact, the first time I played Zork and I tried to kill the troll underneath the house with the sword, I had to type "kill troll with sword" like half a dozen times for anything to happen because it just kept either avoiding it or not getting stunned or not getting killed. And it was just frustrating because it didn't feel like anything was happening. But anyway, I think that's going to be it for the stream tonight. So um, if I don't stream this Saturday, then I will catch you all next week. And I will hopefully by then have some more interesting level transitions. Oh, interesting. Getting some weird vignette effects on the light back there. And maybe clean up the sort of audio transitions a little bit, make it not quite as nasty, and not quite as affected by reverb, which will be interesting. I'll have to figure out a good way to do that. Um, yeah, the puzzle it is definitely about the puzzles for Zork, but killing the troll is a puzzle, and it wasn't a satisfying puzzle to solve. So I don't know. I wanted to try something a little different slash more adventurous because there's even though you can play combat straight in Text Quest, but oh that's right. There's an option for ignore. Oh, where is it? Oh, I can just test it here. Ignore reverb or bypass effects. There it is. Or I guess reverb zone mix. Is that correct? Oh, okay. Interesting. Well, then that I probably should make that a. Probably should work that into the music manager somehow to test it. I'll have to look at that then. Thank you for pointing that out, Garrett. And yeah. Anyway, I'm terrible at actually ending the stream when I say I'm going to end the stream. So thank you all very much for watching, and really, oh yeah, well there's a lot of stuff that they changed in 5 for the audio. I remember when they originally updated to 5, like the 3D versus 2D clip, because it used to be the option for 2D versus 3D sounds used to be on the audio clip itself, and now it's on the audio source, which it makes sense now that I think about it, but it was very weird when it first happened. Everyone was just like, why is this, But it makes sense because then you don't have to have duplicates of the same clip if you want to play it once in 3D and once in 2D. But yeah, and Text Quest. I'm hoping to get the updated demo with like these 2 levels and the nice substance stuff, the new combat system, the puzzles, the new dynamic global illumination, and all of that stuff. I'm hoping to get that out by May. If not May, then June or July for PopCon. So, anyway, like I said earlier, I'm ending the stream here. So, thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you next time.